Hi Professor, my name is Louis Kim and this video is my original piece for the media content I've chosen for the project. So the media content I chose is addressing the important issue of participating in contact sports, specifically football. So for my original piece I wanted to include not just children but well-known athletes. In this picture that you can see, these athletes are Aaron Hernandez, Junior Shaw. These two people are athletes that suffered from CTE, and the brain injuries that they suffered from led to very gruesome deaths, actually suicide. So my goal for this media content was to address the negative consequences of not taking action. So I wanted to increase the likelihood for people to specifically use loss frames to emphasize that if they didn't take further action, it would lead to negative consequences. However, if they did, then they can prevent those injuries. So both of these players presented in this picture have played at all three levels, from high school to college to professional. And the most important thing for this picture is actually the website. This website was actually created by somebody named Dr. Bennett Omalu, and he's most notably known through the movie called Concussion, starring Will Smith. And I think this website is very, very important. It's probably the most important part of this picture that I've created, because some people actually lack the information and the knowledge to know about the health benefit model. And this can do with the modifying factors like the demographic differences in age, education, religion, personality, knowledge, and some of the social economic status. All these things can actually affect how a person is persuaded. It can affect them having possibly a lack of health care and so many other things. So the health benefit model actually contains many main parts to it, and this includes the perceived severity, perceived susceptibility, perceived benefits, perceived barriers, and cues to action. So when I provide this website and the phone number as well, they can take action and they can actually benefit from them very much. So there's an important statistic that I wanted to read, and it's by the Journal of the American Medical Association, and this is what it said. It said 99% of NFL players have died from CTE, 91% of college football players, and 21% of high school football players. So I felt that statistic was really important because it is such a high amount of people who have suffered from this. So including the statistics as well as the date that you can see in the upper right corner, there's a picture of a NFL player named Junior Shaw in the upper right corner, and I listed the date of how long he lived for. So I kind of wanted to use that to create this fear appeal of his life. It was such a short-lived life, and by showing this timeline, I think it's going to create some severity of threat and the vulnerability of threat, because through this date and the picture, people can actually see that CTE is a very long-term effect and it can affect somebody's health. So by providing the phone number, they're able to respond very effectively. And the number it's not just for people who are concerned, who want to know about this for their kids' safeties, but it's also for people who might be suffering already from CTE. And there's also people who wonder if they have it already. Sometimes they might want to know what's going on in their brain. So I think it's really important for them to find out more about this disease. And the thing is, the purpose of football as a sport is that these hits are intentional, and they are encouraged to hit as hard as they can to the opponent's head and the body. And each hit that these players take, they're at huge risk. And even one season can actually affect these players. So if they decide to quit after one season, they might still be at risk of having this disease. So there's always these safer alternatives, and people can always adopt these new behaviors, and some people will actually suggest that safer equipment might be the answer, but that's not true because safer equipment is not going to protect these players. What they need is treatment. And because there's no treatment for this CTE, I think that this sport should be banned, especially for children participating in such a life-threatening situation. So many of these retired players, like Brett Favre, who is a well-known a player, he's actually spoken about this, and he's said that he suffered from this. He has a great amount of pain and speech impairment, and sometimes he can't even remember where he is, so he has a loss of memory. And not only that, it leads to more violent behavior. Another well-known person, Chris Benoit, he's a wrestler who suffered from CTE, and he actually murdered his entire family before committing suicide. Aaron Hernandez, you can see in the picture, he hung himself in prison after being sentenced for murder. And Junior Shaw, once again, he shot himself in the chest. So these weren't just deaths, but these were very gruesome deaths, and they were caused by these violent behaviors. And for such a long time, nobody knew why this would cause somebody to act this way. So they did many, they scanned many brains, and I think that there's a lot more information now than there were before. So I think a lot of these players, they should be provided with more information in order to know how serious that this injury can be, and how negative it can impact someone's life. So this is going to be the end of this video, and I just want to say thank you very much.